All the material that is used for car wrapping today has the ability to stretch. Obviously, some can stretch farther than others. Calendar film stretches only so far, cast film stretches more, certain cast films stretch farther than others. Okay, so this enables the film to be applied to curves, recessed areas, door handles, bumpers, all that good stuff. The shadow of the material being able to stretch is that it actually always wants to go back to its original state. Here, the material is stretched into the garbage can, heat is applied to the film, and it shrinks back to its original shape and tension. So this creates a scenario that I call stretch versus overstretch. If you stretch the material on the vehicle, it's fine. If you overstretch it, the material is going to bounce back and create situations like this. So here, you can see it's already starting to crack and fail in these recessed areas because when the material is applied, it was overstretched and the material is bouncing back flat because it's creating too much tension on the surface of the vehicle for it to hold for the long term. Here in this little recessed area is minor, but it's bouncing back. Around the door handle, you see the wrinkles and it's already pulling back from the handle. You can see the original color of the vehicle. And this is because the material was overstretched. So the balance for car wrapping is stretching versus overstretching.
So you just saw the trash can demo where the material is dramatically stretched and then bounces back. So you have an idea of memory, okay? And how does this apply when you're wrapping a vehicle, okay? As you'll see in a lot of the install videos, my biggest thing that I push in my technique and stuff like that is using technique and pulling the material cold and trying to get in the right spot first, as opposed to as soon as you get to a tricky area like on a fender or a mirror or a bumper, is immediately grabbing the heat gun and pulling and stretching the film crazy, okay? Because what that does is it creates opens the door to a lot of problems. Overstretching, whitening, distortion, all that kind of stuff. So this is a good demonstration of what I mean by that, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this panel here, and what I've done is I've drawn some lines on it, okay? And I'm basically going to set the panel up here in the middle of the hood. And I'm going to make sure that the bottom pretty much matches the bottom of the hood here. So line it up here, tack it there, and I'll bring it back on top here, okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'll squeegee the top here, left to right. And then I want to show you how I'm going to pull the material hard and firm, okay? But what I want you to pay attention to is, do I distort the lines? Do I overstretch the film if I pull it firm and cold, okay? So I'm going to get down here and I'm going to pull really hard and create my glass. I'm going to work the material and I'm literally pulling as hard as I can to work the film on. And so what I did is I stretched pretty harder than I normally do. And look how far I stretched the material. I got the material to here and to here. So maybe from the top point to here, I stretched the film, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4% at the most. Okay, and this is, this is a thick film that I'm putting on, but even then, I pulled as hard as I could. And do you see the lines? Are they distorted? Are they kind of off? No, they're all still reading symmetrical. They're all still reading straight, okay? So, but I did get down to this area here where I could even work this out with my squeegee if I wanted to and pull it and work it out flat, okay? So my point is, even here I could use my triangle technique to work all that out, okay? So I can apply a section that's curvy, cold, and flat if I pull with good technique and I pull the material out, okay? But what happens now is I'm going to pick the material back up to here, and let's say I get to a situation where I'm like, oh my god, I have a curve, I'm going to break out the heat gun, okay? Then I'm going to hold the material away and I'm going to heat it, soften it up, and then I'm simply just going to pull nice and easy to get it flat on the surface. I'll pull it here, heat it again, because I got some wrinkles, pull flat, and now look what I got, okay? And then a lot of material has air egress, I can squeeze it down and then it's on, and it looks great. Okay, so this is what a lot of happens often, unfortunately, on a lot of bumpers, mirrors, door handles, and all that kind of stuff is the installer tends to grab the heat gun and pull and whip the material around. And for the most part, it looks okay, in terms of like if you're wrapping just like a gloss or stuff like that. But what happens is, obviously, look, distortion. If I'm trying to wrap text, the text is going to get curvy or distorted. If I'm doing like a brushed metallic film, the lines are now curvy. If I'm doing matte film, what I did right now is I glossed it, So by heating and stretching, you're creating a lot of problems. It is kind of easy to put on that way, because if I heat it and pull and whip it on, it's great. But now what I have here is, also the main thing for me is I have a huge amount of tension on the edge, That memory effect is now coming into play, because right now what I did is I overstretched the film. The adhesive is trying to do what I asked. The adhesive is trying to hold this edge, But the material wants to go back flat. And here's a great example of that is, let's say if I was an installer and I put this on, I'm like, okay, it's fine, it's good enough, I'm gonna cut the material here at the bottom, I cut it away, and now what I'm gonna do, watch, I'm gonna pick the material back up away now, and I'm gonna heat it, So watch, I'm gonna pick it up here, and even now, you can even, without me even heating it, look how much it's already shrunk back. So even just cold, look at the material jumping back. And now I'm gonna come back up here and give it a kiss of heat. The lines go back straight, which is cool, because that's the memory effect. Same thing as I just showed on the trash can where the material jumps back. You can make the material jump back and even up the lines, but let's say if I cut it down here, look what I'm asking the material to do. I'm asking the material to hold this much space, and there's no way the material can do that, And a lot of people, what they do to compensate for this technique of using heat first is they put like an adhesive promoter on the edge, and they expect the adhesive promoter to hold that much material over the course of 3 years. And that's why you see a lot of cars on the road, a lot of cars have like peeling edges, or they're popping out of recessed areas, or the bumpers are curling back up, and simply because the material was overstretched. Heated, pulled and whipped around, and there's just too much tension on the material. So the idea of car wrapping is trying to stretch the film, but not overstretch the film. So for me, the biggest thing is using good technique, using triangles to shape the film, using a nice thin buffer on your squeegee, and using good flexible film where you can kind of pull the film and keep it even, but not overstretch the film. So this is a big one to keep in mind all the time when you're car wrapping.